Hey guys, I'm Eric and Karina.
I'm HR.
And I'm E-Ride.
The law according to Eric. So welcome back, guys.
Yes. Welcome back, everyone.
We haven't recorded in a while. We had a couple of them stacked up. So we haven't recorded for a week now.
In the can,
yeah,
as we say.
Did.
Right.
We had a week's worth in the can. So nice to be back.
Okay.
All right. So today's theme is about terrible therapists. There we go. Play on words.
Hey!
Not all of them.
I resemble that remark.
Not all of them. Okay, I love my therapist. She's very great. So not every therapist has issues.
Well, so let me just say, this should be a fun episode, I think. I hope. Again, as per our agreement, I don't pre-screen any of these. I don't know what stories are going to come out of anybody's mouth, but I will say that, I will honestly, in the practice of law in 17 years, I can maybe think of a handful of clients of ours that don't need therapy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Everybody could benefit from having someone to talk to at the very least.
Yeah.
And by the way, I honestly feel that way about life in general. I think for whatever reason, there's an unfortunate stigma that was attached to therapy, probably from the 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
And the asylums and, lobotomies and electric shock therapy and crazy, scary movies like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Well, that wasn't scary. That was really heart-wrenching. But,
Yeah.
But honestly, really think about what harm could come from just having someone to talk to that is non-judgmental, is sort of unbiased. Now, having said all that, I'm betting there's lots of judgy therapists out there that probably fuck their clients up worse than help them.
Probably.
But I guess we'll wait to find out.
All right. So, let's dive in. So this time we're doing some are Am I the Asshole? Some are What Would Eric do? Because I did find a couple of books.
Okay.
All right. So this title is Am I the Asshole for Firing Our Family Therapist After She Asked for Tips?
I'm going to say it's pretty justified.
All right. My ex and I have a 12-year-old boy who's going through some things. We found a therapist and we've been seeing her for a couple of years. It hasn't been life-changing for me in any way. In fact, it became more of a pointless chore like making your bed or folding your underwear. I might have gotten a few things out of it, but I wouldn't do it again. A few weeks ago, I had told our therapist that it's bizarre to not have to worry about money for the first time in my life. I make good money and I don't really have many bills. I'm saving at least $1,000 a month. Last week, the therapist asked me if I could start making a copayment. I don't have a copayment because my insurance covers 100% of my therapy sessions. I explained that to her. She said that was true, but maybe I could start paying $20 cash because she's not making a lot with what my insurance pays her, like a tip. I was at a loss for words. I said, and I suppose this has no relation to my telling you that I had disposable income from a few weeks ago? She said, of course not. It was like she was asking for a raise, lol. I said I'd think about it. I found nothing about tipping your therapist. I talked to my ex and said I was firing the therapist. She told me not to throw away 2 years of work, and I said this therapist tried taking advantage of me. She offered to pay, and I said I'm not stopping you, but I'm not doing the sessions anymore, and neither is our son. The trust I had in our therapist is forever broken. I left the voicemail and a text message explaining we weren't in need of services anymore. I haven't heard back from her. Guess what? Our lives didn't fall apart, and the therapist replies that I totally misunderstood this whole tip thing. Am I the asshole here?
Oh, definitely not the asshole. The therapist should not have done that. I don't know what state the person is in, but in California, you have to disclose all your fees beforehand.
Yeah.
So you can't just throw in some random fee or tip. I've never heard of tipping your therapist. That's just not a thing.
Have you ever heard of anyone getting tipped as a therapist?
No.
I've never heard of it in general.
Never.
Tipping a therapist.
No, you're not supposed to tip your therapist. they're not your server. I mean, you wouldn't tip your doctor, right?
No, exactly.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Thoughts there?
I don't know. When I was a teenager,
right.
I had a therapist. I went to therapy for a while, and I used to tip her with my tip.
Oh my god.
Oh.
Just kidding.
Started early today.
Thank you.
Started early today.
I mean, it's very cringy for a therapist to be like, yo, what if we just paid me under the table, in cash?
Yeah.
But, and I'm going to say this, I was going to do a, right out of the gate, it's almost like,
all right.
But then I forgot that that's on you now. But let me tell you this is a true story. So after I was separated, before there was a final decision to divorce, we attended couples therapy. Mm-hmm. And that therapist also offered a 10% cash discount if I just showed up and paid cash every session, which I did, because why not? And but the difference is there was no insurance. This was just straight private pay, so what did I care? It just cost me less.
Exactly.
Whether she reports the income or not, it's really not my problem, right? It's her issue. But when there is an insurance company paying for the therapy, it is, I think, very inappropriate for the therapist to basically complain and ask for more. Having said that, though, I'm being honest, I totally get it.
You get why she asked?
Yes, and I understand the feelings behind it or the reasoning, because insurance companies are very cheap.
Right.
And they pay very low amounts for professional services, medical insurance that is, and that covers mental health along with regular physical health, lab testing. They pay a sliver to the physicians.
Yeah.
And that's, and then physicians are kind of forced to accept. So if you take Medicare,
you're forced to
whatever the government pays, you got to take. So I understand why she's like, yo, I get $30 for this, right? And the going rate's like $200.
And she heard she had extra income, She's like, yeah, I'm saving.
Well, okay, so let me just tell you, that's the scandalous part.
Yeah.
And there is no universe where this chick mentioning that she's got this new found money. Right, absolutely not a coincidence. I will tell you, in the practice of bankruptcy, in Chapter 11, an attorney, so in order to be paid what's called post-petition, meaning for work that you do after you file the case, because this is about protecting the creditors of the estate and all that, you can't just charge whatever you want. Right. Court has to review a submission, basically an application to be paid. Your fees, you have to itemize them all out. They can't be lumped. So you can't say on this day I did these 4 things for a total of it. No, that line by line, right? There's a lot of guidelines about it. And again, that's meant to make sure that attorneys aren't overcharging or
right.
But there's also a provision in a fee application where you can ask the court for an extraordinary bonus. Basically, you can say, look, I brought so much value to this estate, or I did so much work on top of what I should have had to because of X, Y, or Z. And any mere mortal would have only been able to get this, but I... I was able to find assets that nobody else found and generate Y, and I've seen that in 17 years. I've seen that requested 3 times.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I've seen it approved twice.
Oh, okay.
So that is a real thing in the practice of law. You can basically ask for more, but it's not as nonchalant as yo, how about you just pay me some cash, right?
Yeah.
Bitch, you're a therapist. I'm just saying, bitch, you're a therapist. This ain't DoorDash, okay?
Exactly.
You don't you don't turn around if you don't get a tip.
Exactly.
So is she the asshole? No. She probably should have fired that therapist.
I think it's a he. I think this is a husband.
He, whatever. I also think that the therapist would harbor resentment going forward.
Sure. Yeah.
Right? So if it's
this motherfucker didn't fucking tip me.
look, yo, Billy, I understand that you've got this extra $1,000 a month. I'm just looking for an extra 100.
Right.
Right. Help a brother out. Think of it as a tip. And if Billy's like, you know what? Fuck off. I'll see you next week. I think next week is going to be awkward as fuck.
Yeah, especially for their kid. She might actually, the kid might be an issue. But he just pulled his kid out. He's like, fuck the therapist.
Well, honestly, okay.
So that was a red flag.
Yeah, well, yes, but let me tell you, that might be the only part of this that I might have an issue with, because I don't know how much the child's gotten from it. I understand the dad, right? That's something I understand. The dad or the mom or the parent maybe doesn't feel. Yeah. And by the way, most people don't have a conscious understanding of what they're gaining. Yeah. It's a slow burn. Yeah. They wake up 2 years later and they're like, I don't freak out about this anymore. Mm-hmm. I don't shit my bed anymore. Whatever. Okay. Exactly. Yeah. So, but if that child developed a true bond with his or her therapist and they could set that child back, I would have sought a compromise look, therapy, Billy, I don't feel super comfortable with you anymore, but I don't want to hurt my son. Yeah. So why don't you continue one-on-one or something like that? But I talked to my kid first. Yeah. My son or daughter. Yeah, about that. But that's the only thing that I may have a slight hesitation about. Otherwise, if my kid was like, yo, Dad, fuck this guy, I'd be like, yeah, fuck this guy.
All right. So, what are we going with? Asshole, not asshole?
I don't think that Billy's dad is an asshole.
Okay.
And I think this therapist scores a 0 on the Feldman scale of shame.
She definitely does score a 0.
I mean, that therapist didn't give a fuck.
No,
and I bet I'm also wondering if she may throw this idea, or like float this idea with other clients too, just to see like
both of your clients.
Yeah, But yeah, so definitely. And I think that the therapist is a 3 dingleberry asshole.
Yeah.
Again, I know they're not paid a lot by insurance. I know they're sort of stuck. I know insurance companies pay like in 90-day intervals a lot of times. So even if you're working your ass off, you may not see any money for a few months.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that, actually.
Yeah, because they're just slow.
I did not know that,
Yeah, they process, and they have to approve the claim, and they have to submit, and you got to submit paperwork.
That part is true. Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So, like, the extra work, right? I could see where a therapist might feel justified in doing that. Doesn't make it right, but I could see where they would get into their mind, like, all the work I have to do on these stupid claim forms and these submissions. Some insurance companies, you have to go through like a portal, and like it's a whole thing. And then if you don't do it by a certain date, you're not going to be on the next check run.
Exactly.
So I get why this happens. I'm also a little bit more annoyed that it's with a child's therapy, even though the parents are involved. I mean, not that it's justified in any way, but if this were like, a full-blown adult with like an Instagram model career, big money influencer, I might feel a little less upset about it. Yeah. Like, why don't you break off your therapist a piece of that fucking makeup money or whatever you're getting, right? Or like the fucking whatever bullshit endorsements.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter if the person's a billionaire or has nothing. You signed a contract, you made a financial agreement with these people, you agreed to see them for a certain rate. But the insurance, you can't just go back and say, oh, hey, why don't you throw in $20 every session?
Exactly, yeah. Well, all right. Are you ready to move on to the next one then, guys?
Yes.
All right. This one would be what would Eric do?
Okay.
So the title is Therapist Took Advantage. My sister went in for a week of help when she was suicidal. About 2 weeks later, one of the therapists had asked to meet with her for a casual meetup and then drove back to his house and they had sex. It seemed consensual, but he knows all her issues as he was one of her therapists while she was in treatment. She sent me all of the texts between them and it was all lovey-dovey. But I can't help think that this is something he's done before or continues to do when clients are feeling low. Is this something worth sharing with his employer? So this is more of like what would you do if this is like your situation?
So this is, I guess, a therapist at an agency or something? If it says
I'm guessing
employer?
Because it says that, it says employer because there's multiple other therapists in that treatment, I guess.
Oh, God. That is so illegal and unethical and...
Speak a little closer. I was like, I can't pick up anything. But
yeah, no, that's incredibly illegal and unethical. I mean, it's therapist 101 taboo. You never, ever, ever have a romantic relationship with your client.
I think that is terrible.
Yeah.
I think that even if it were spoken as if it were consensual, when somebody has the psychological insights into another person's sense of self-esteem, well-being, sexuality, whatever, and they know, because they're trained in the mind, they know what buttons to push, what things to say, what buzzwords, whatever, and sort of manipulate their way into getting what they want, I think is in itself almost sociopathic.
Literally, yeah.
Are there therapists that develop real deep feelings for their clients or patients? Probably. Are there therapists that never act on those? I'm sure, because that's what's supposed to happen.
Exactly.
Are there therapists that say, I would like to see you socially and I can't do that while you're still a patient? I will help you find someone else as long as I don't think it's harmful to you. That might be a better scenario.
Right. You still can.
No, I know you can't, but I'm saying...
Even if they're not a client.
I know, I get it, but I'm saying like just what might make this a little less upsetting in a sense, but there is no world in which I think this is okay. So this is, in my mind, and this might be a strong term, and I know that not everybody's going to agree, but this is almost like psychological rape.
Yeah.
Because I don't believe that patient Lucinda was completely, into this.
Yeah.
I believe that, like, therapist Billy somehow manipulated this and like, let's go back to my place, girl, and we could talk and you'll feel better and I'll make you some herbal tea or whatever the fuck they do, That's how this sounds. Now, none of us are there, right? We don't know. Right. She could have been the one that's like, you know what, therapist Billy, I've wanted you from the first day. I don't care. But therapist Billy does a duty to say fucking no, I can't do that. Thank you, but no.
Yeah.
Okay, so therapist Billy is a full 5 dingleberry for that. I don't care how it started. He has a higher duty.
Yeah.
She is clearly somebody in distress. She was suicidal.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's like,
And he knew that.
That's right.
Exactly.
There is no justification in my mind.
No, me neither.
And, of course, he's a 0 on the Feldman scale of shame for going through with this and allowing it to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. And you should have the therapist license taken. I mean, you should go to your local licensing board. I don't know what that is where you are, but yeah, do more than just going to the place where they work. They definitely go to the licensing board and file a claim.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Next one. Are you ready for the next one then? All right. Am I the asshole for asking my therapist if he farted / took a dump? That's just the title. I've been in therapy for about a month because I'm struggling with a few personal issues / major life decisions. We've been doing therapy via Zoom and telephone. My therapist is a nice guy and I feel that he's been helping me. We had a session yesterday and he asked if we could use only the phone rather than Zoom because his connection wasn't good today. I agreed because I saw no issue with it. About a third of the way through the call, I heard a fart. A really loud, unmistakable fart. And I know it came from his end of the phone, not the other one. That's what he said. I was kind of shocked, so I just kept talking. But a couple of minutes later, I heard some more unmistakable sounds. It literally sounded like he was taking a shit while we were on the phone. I literally heard the water plop. At this point, I'm disgusted and annoyed and said, sorry, but are you taking a shit while talking to me in my therapy session? No. He got all flustered and denied it. I said, I heard you fart, and now I hear plopping noises. I'm not an idiot. I told him it feels disrespectful because he wasn't focused on what I was saying at all, and I feel violated too. Like if that's what a fetish is or something. It's just unprofessional to me. He kept denying it, and I said it's fine, but I just didn't want to listen to him taking a dump, so I hung up. He didn't call me back either. I got an email today, hence the post, saying we need to reconsider therapy at this time because of my behavior. Seriously, what? Was I really out of line for that? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills when he was the rude one here. Am I the asshole for asking him that?
Wow. There's a lot of dumped into there.
That was a good one.
Was it though?
That was a good one though.
I think maybe the therapist had the show must go on kind of mentality.
Funny enough though, have you guys heard of that therapy? The name of it's like BetterHelp Therapy.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
So I heard they are actually seriously unprofessional, and it's like a scam they're running for people. And like a lot of people have made like TikTok and videos saying like one person was actually on their call and she's on the FaceTime, literally in the bathroom on the toilet while she's like on the Zoom call with her. So this isn't the first time I've actually heard of this. Yeah, people from BetterHelp.
Wow.
From what I've heard, supposedly. Don't sue me.
Allegedly.
That's what they have said. So I don't think it was the asshole. I would ask.
Look, there's a difference between. Okay, I mean this. This is just one of those things where, I mean, everybody. Look, my brother and I have. We're not ashamed of our of like the little sayings or whatever. Okay, everybody, for example, at least once in their lives, have gambled on a fart and lost.
Right.
Okay, things happen. People eat something that doesn't agree with them. They hit something a little too spicy. Some people do that right before getting on a first-class flight to a Mexican resort and have to defile the first.
Like that, huh?
Almost have to defile the first-class bathroom on a flight. Okay, but I also think honestly that Lucinda, the patient, was a little savage about this because when I notice people or friends or whatever that have a little slip or they got a little gas or whatever, I just try to ignore it. And even if it's rank, right? Now, it also depends who I'm with, okay? So, not that this is a regular everyday event, but often in my, little poker game, right? There's going to be one or two guys that, maybe eat a little too much or whatever, and they start letting them rip in the middle of the game. And even though we're all like in our 50s, right, we all think it's the funniest shit we've ever seen or heard, and we all laugh about it. And of course, the stinkier the better as far as these situations go, right? Whatever, we laugh.
Right.
But that's different than if I were like trying to have like a client meeting, right? Or yes, that's the example, okay? Because like if I make a telephonic appearance to court and I'm off camera, yeah, in theory I could go on mute and like go to the other room.
Go to the restroom.
The difference is I don't know if I would, unless there's some kind of medical problem or true emergency.
Right.
Even if my stomach hurt, I'd wait till I'm done.
Exactly.
I try. But the difference is court calls don't usually last an hour or 55 minutes or whatever like a therapy session does. True. Right? If this poor fucking therapist is going through Montezuma's Revenge and he just went down to, fucking Tito's Tacos for lunch and he's getting all tore up, maybe he could have just said like, Lucinda, I'm so sorry. I'm having an issue and reschedule then.
Or he could have just went to the restroom first.
Or he could have said, "Look, let's take a break." But I think but from what I understand, these telehealth services, usually they book up in blocks.
Yes.
He may not have the kind of time or flexibility.
That's true.
And I don't know what the issues are or not. I don't know how important the sessions are for her.
Yeah.
Other thing too, I hate to say it, this guy just may need the money. So he's not going to stop or like lose an hour. He's just going to like get done. And maybe he just didn't think he was that loud. Maybe he thought he could just squeeze one out, and like whatever.
Maybe. But what if he really was taking a shit though?
I mean, maybe he was, but so what? What do you get? It's I know it's nasty to hear.
You really should have pushed the mute button.
Yeah, but
could have put the mute button. That's always an option.
I know, and just let her, and then every once in a while she come back on like, well, no, tell me more. And then just mute her again till he finishes. Yeah, I don't think this was handled well by anybody.
No.
But honestly, I'm not prepared to issue dingleberries at this point. Not on this one. But I will say, Lucinda's like a 4 on the Feldman scale of shame. Because you got to have a little like shamelessness to be like, yo, are you taking a shit?
Yeah, like I don't know what I say to Mike.
Did I just hear the fucking water plop and the toilet? Like, you got to be a little shameless to like even like put it out there like that.
Yeah.
So she's a 4 on the Feldman scale, but I'm not giving any dingleberries.
Okay. Do you want to give?
And the guy just maybe couldn't help it.
Maybe.
It's a situation that could happen anyway.
Yeah.
I think if you were all booked up and you needed the money, I can see you wanted to give it a try. And
I promise you, that therapist is never going to do it again. Though she was like, I was called out. This isn't happening again.
Well, that part you're probably right. The last thing this therapist is going to do is like stop and take a shit break.
Exactly.
In the middle of a session.
Yeah.
But I do get if you're pouring your guts out to someone, you want their full attention.
Yeah, you don't want them on the toilet.
Yeah.
I'd be a little upset. I'd be a little at least mad about the whole situation. All right, next one. This is what would Eric do? Okay. Title is Therapist Office Forged My Girlfriend's Signature 10 plus times. So, yeah. My significant other, 26 female, had seen a therapist intermittently over the course of less than 6 months, maybe 15 appointments total. She stopped seeing them around 2 months ago and has recently received a bill in the mail with the number of appointments listed. While reading through the invoice, she realized that there were multiple appointments on the invoice that she had never attended. She confirmed a couple of them through her text messages. Today, she received a scan of all the times she had signed into the office for her scheduled appointments. More than 10 of her appointments have signatures that were clearly forged and do not match with her handwriting. What is our legal recourse here? She has no trouble paying for the appointments she actually attended, but this therapist is gouging her for at least 10 appointments that she never attended. Any help or advice would be appreciated.
Oh, wow, that's horribly illegal.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you should definitely report the therapist. That's pretty clear cut one.
I don't see a real other side to this.
Yeah.
I mean, I can argue legally that you sign a contract. Right, I'm saying you sign a contract, right? You're obligated to pay X number of sessions one way or another.
Right.
I mean, you can by analogy compare it to like a residential lease. Mm-hmm. Like whether you lose your job the day after you sign a lease or not, you're technically obligated to pay those 12 rent payments or whatever.
But I don't think she had specific. We're going to have to meet these days. I think they were just checking her in and just signing her in as if she came in and she never did. That was the thing.
No, I mean, I understand there's some discrepancies and there's room for argument. I'm saying from a legal perspective, that might be the only grounds this therapy company or the therapist has. Like, look, you signed a contract that says X, Y, or Z. Maybe the contract also says these dates are, changeable at my discretion, which doesn't make sense because it's more about the patient's availability to an extent.
Right.
They work full time or whatever. But if a therapist only has certain openings, like if they're so booked, like, look, I've only got Wednesdays at 2 open at this point, and if you want them, I'll block that out for you. And then she's like, okay, sure. And then a week later, she's like, I can't do it. Yeah. Well, wait, I gave up a different client and cost now myself this much per week, extra hour or two, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, so you need to either keep that appointment or you got to pay for that time. Now, a therapist, like any other professional, would have a duty to what's called mitigate their damages. So I'd have to try to find somebody else to take that slot.
Right.
So maybe you only have to pay for 2 missed sessions and not all 10. But that might be, that's the only legal grounds I could think of for enforcing something like that. Otherwise, no.
But the signature, would that?
No, that's a whole other issue. Forgery is a felony. I don't care who you are or where you are.
So would this have to be a civil case, or would it be a criminal case?
No, you could file a police report. I don't know to the extent of prosecution.
Forgery and insurance fraud.
Right. So I'm saying you can file a police report. They don't always prosecute. I think the licensing board would probably have a better time with this.
Right.
Especially, again, with forgery and improper fraudulent billing. So that's who I would go to. You can also go to the Department of Insurance Commissioner's office for the insurance fraud part of it. It could potentially be multi-jurisdictional if the therapist is seeing clients from online from different states.
Right.
At that point, this becomes federal. Right, and then maybe you can file a report with the FBI because insurance fraud is a big part of what the FBI cracks down on. But otherwise, I don't.
That's what Eric would do.
Yeah, Eric would over Zoom show the middle finger.
Well, I think this was in she would go in.
Whatever. Yeah. Then I would. Yeah.
That's why she was like, I never fucking showed up for this shit. I didn't sign in.
No, that's No, Eric would. Actually, I take that back. What would Eric do? I would just initiate litigation. Yeah. I would just force them to explain my signature that's not my signature. And I'm guessing once they were served some initial discovery, their tune would change.
I'm sure. You have any more thoughts, Jen?
No, just blatantly illegal, and it's a hardship when clients don't show up, but that's why you have a no-show fee.
Yeah, because I know my therapist, if I don't show up, she charges me $100, so I don't show up, so. But you also have 24 hours to cancel. At least I do. I have 24 hours to cancel.
I think most professionals have. We don't charge for consultations.
Yeah.
And if a client makes an appointment and they don't show up, I can't bill them for it because I haven't put any time into it. So law firms and law offices are a little different. But I get the idea. Look, I've got 10 people. I've only got time to see 3 more. So if I'm going to put you on this schedule,
you better show up.
Yeah, because otherwise it costs me because I could have had somebody else here. So I get it.
All right. Next one.
All right.
Am I the asshole for snapping at my daughter's therapist when she tried to blame my daughter's trauma on me? Okay. I, 43 female, have a 22-year-old daughter. All my daughter's life, she struggled with mental health issues. She has 8.
How old is this bitch and how old's the daughter?
22 daughter, 43 mom.
Okay, so mom had her at the ripe age of 21.
Yes.
Okay. All right, I understand.
All right. She has ADHD, bipolar, and borderline personality disorder. If I'm being honest, I never really understood a lot of my daughter's disorders. I've always approached mental illness as something you just bury deep down. And as a single mother, I've tried my best, but I know I'm not perfect. Well, recently my daughter asked if I would go to one of her therapy sessions with her. I only agreed because she seemed super excited about it. When we got there, her therapist first asked me about how I was raised to think about mental health. I said I wasn't raised to think about mental health at all. She then said she guessed that. It seemed kind of snarky, but I ignored it. She then asked about my family's history with addiction and mental health. I denied any, and she then started to list all the things my daughter had actually told her and asked if those were a lie. They weren't a lie, but I just never saw any of those things as big issues. She then began to explain to me that BPD is a trauma response. She explained it can be caused by many things, but by me invalidating her emotions so much, like I did, I was invalidating my own, and I had a part to play in it. She then tried to tell me ways I could cope with my own trauma that could help my daughter through hers. After listening to her spew about absolute garbage for 30 minutes, I finally got up and told her that she was a fucking quack and she didn't know anything about what she was talking about. I stormed out and I left. My daughter called me crying an hour later, and I told her she needed to get an actual therapist instead of that bitch. I wasn't upset with my daughter, but I did feel like she threw me into the wolves. After cooling down, I think maybe I could have handled that differently, but I'm not sure. Was I the asshole here?
Not a good therapist. You can't just attack someone and say that they're to blame for all their kids' faults and then expect that to go well.
Yeah.
Like, that's how any normal person is going to react when they're attacked like that.
So I have thoughts about this one. I feel like this is just what I feel like. I feel like the therapist probably didn't say that to her in like those terms. I have a feeling that she took that as when the therapist is kind of explaining shit, she's like, wait, no, this is my fault. And she didn't like that. And I felt like she felt like, oh shit, I didn't do correctly on what I was supposed to. And she felt attacked by this. I really don't feel like the therapist was like, you did this, you did that. I don't think it was like that.
That's true. We don't know what really happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's very a matter of perception.
Yeah.
So, yeah, she may have taken that to the next level, even though it was not intended that way.
Yeah. You have thoughts there?
I do. I do. So I'm going to tell you what I think really happened.
Okay.
I think that Lucinda mom at 19 decided to hook up with the best tipper she had while she rode the pole.
Right.
Got knocked up. Decided to raise a child as a single fucking stripping mom. Probably did a shitty job. Doesn't understand why her kid's all fucked up. And then when the therapist says, well, how did you deal with these issues? She probably never, ever actually did. She was just happy to go live life as a broken down stripper now, right? Maybe trying to cop some meth down the corner or whatever. Now, I know none of that's in there, but the point is, there's a lot of not in there in this post.
Yeah.
We don't know what the real background is of this mother-daughter dynamic. We don't know if the mom may have been somewhat abusive, and I don't necessarily mean physically. Maybe the mom blames the daughter for her being single. I know that's a common thing in these single-parent households where the parent sort of, ends up resenting the child because they don't have a social life or they can't go out a lot or whatever. Okay, and there's a good chance that, pole dancer Lucinda mom had some kind of negative effect on her child who's trying to figure it all out. Now, assuming for a second that everything was written exactly how it happened, I could see where Lucinda mom might get a little miffed, but I also tend to lean more towards Hurricane's interpretation.
Yeah.
That I think Lucinda mom had to stop and come face to face with some of her own problems and issues, and that freaked her out.
Yeah, and she didn't like how that felt.
Right, and then she's just like, you know what? Okay, fuck that, and fuck you.
And you don't know what you're talking about.
And we out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know what? I bet you cunty therapist did know what she's talking about. Maybe she has to learn how to communicate better. Maybe she misread how she should approach this. Maybe she thought she could be kind of like blunt and whatever. I don't know. I mean, I know that the therapists are typically trained on different communication styles depending on who the client is and the recipient of the communication. I get it. And you don't speak to a 9-year-old the same way you speak to a 22-year-old. So putting all that aside, I really do. I think there's more unwritten here. Yeah. Right? Than written.
I got that, especially when she was like, she asked me about that, which I said no. And then when she listed like a bunch of things my daughter said, then I was like, oh, well, like those weren't to me. Because the therapist was like, well, did she lie about those things? So it kind of felt like she already was like, no, we don't need therapy. Nothing's wrong with us. And I think when the therapist said all of that, she's like, well, fuck. Like now I can't really lie about this. She really does know everything. Like, my kid has told her everything.
The information was probably correct. Yeah. But you can't challenge a parent like that and expect it to go well. So it just feels like the therapist should have known better.
So in this situation, what would Jennifer do?
Oh, as
a therapist.
As the therapist? Yeah. Well, I mean, the damage is already done now. This mom is never coming back. Right. But when you do have a client that's complained to you about their parent or their spouse, for a couple of years, and then you develop anger towards that person.
No, yeah.
You know, and then because every therapist is human, and so then I think when she finally did meet the mom, she had all that anger. Like she had developed the anger of the kid, and it probably all came out in a way that was counterproductive.
I didn't think of it that way, actually. So yeah.
I know. Fuck, that was deep.
It was. It actually was.
I know. It's it's almost like because since clearly you missed the ball today, it's almost like a cringy sister-in-law that comes and blames you for all her problems when in actuality she's just jealous.
Yeah.
It's almost like that.
Almost like that.
I got to get you today because Karina's off her game.
Sorry, I was trying to find things to say.
It's all right.
Dropping the ball, Karina.
I know. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. All right. Ready for the next one then?
I am.
All right. This is another What Would Eric Do?
Okay.
Title is My Therapist Did Something Shady. My husband and I have been in therapy with separate therapists in the same office for a few years now. We were previously dealing with DV. I am safe now. I stayed, and he showed tremendous progress. We've done a couple of sessions and never felt like they were constructive and always felt like our therapist always ganged up on one of us. My therapist kept pushing for a couple session on me because of communication issues we're having. I told her I would ask, but I knew that he would say no. So she said if he said no, would he be comfortable with us having his therapist sit in one of our sessions and vice versa to see where we're at? I knew for a fact that would make him uncomfortable. Fast forward to yesterday. My therapist actually brought in his therapist anyways, even though she knew that he would be uncomfortable, and she's revealed some info about my husband that was really none of my business. I asked my therapist after how I should go about telling my husband that his therapist came to my session, and his therapist was joking around and said that I should just lie to my husband. If my husband was just starting his therapy, that could have put me in a dangerous situation. Is worth putting a formal complaint or speaking to a lawyer about this? Is this a HIPAA violation? So it's like, what would you do in that situation?
Wait, what?
Okay. All right. I'll do the Sparks Notes version of this.
That was a lot of
give HR the cliff notes on this.
All right.
I need the cliff notes.
I'm sorry. I know the one fucking actual therapist.
I know our actual therapist here.
I know, but go ahead.
All right. Husband, wife, they were going to different therapies with different therapists, right? Like they were doing sessions. They did counseling together, but they felt like it did not work for them because it always felt like one of the therapists would gang up on just one of them. So they didn't like it. They decided to do therapy on their own, right? Yeah. So in there, her therapist said she wanted her husband to be in one of the sessions. Well, she said no because he would never be okay with that. We already tried it, didn't work. So she said, what if we bring in his therapist to just sit in our sessions and then I'll go and sit in their sessions? Which she had also said no, he also would be uncomfortable with that, and she knew that. The therapist didn't care, brought his therapist in there still, and then his therapist actually shared stuff from their therapy sessions with her husband that she was not supposed to know. That was not her business. So she was like, well, how should I tell my husband that I know this now? And the therapist basically were like, well, maybe you should lie to him, like maybe not tell him. And she's asking, like, isn't this like a HIPAA violation? Should she like seek a lawyer for something like that? That's what she was concerned.
Yeah, no, that is a serious breach of confidentiality.
Thoughts, Mr. Lawyer?
There's a part of me that thinks that maybe they've gotten so comfortable with this couple, each individual therapist with their particular client, that they didn't see the big deal in it. I mean, I have a hard time thinking they didn't know it was improper. Right? But they may have been more casual about it. It doesn't make it right. And it probably should never have happened. And if that was the case, that's a big misclick as far as like their ability to read their clients and their patients.
Yeah.
What concerns me the most about that post is that this is a victim of domestic violence. And I would be more concerned with her telling hubby that this happened, for her own safety. I'm serious.
Yeah.
I probably would file a complaint because I don't know if I were that patient.
Yeah.
I don't know that I could ever trust my therapist again. And I think that trust between a client and a therapist is tantamount to any kind of success. So no different, by the way, than a client with their attorney.
Yeah.
If a client doesn't trust their attorney and the attorney can't trust their client, which we've found on more than one occasion the hard way, that not every client's trustworthy.
Exactly.
Then there's no further client-attorney relationship that can have attorney-client relationship.
Exactly.
We have an obligation, in fact, to essentially withdraw or fire the client, right? If we find that the client's untruthful with us or untrustworthy or whatever. And no different if a client finds that I'm being dishonest or I've shared attorney-client information, confidential information with even like a friend of mine,
Exactly.
like that might know them or whatever, let alone opposing counsel.
Well, I even heard, like you said, I wouldn't feel comfortable just because I'd be like, well, how do I know you haven't sat in on their sessions and talked about what we talk about now? Like now, that's what I would feel like.
The trust is gone.
Exactly. Yeah. So.
No, I mean there is no. Look, by the way, both therapists are 4.5 dingleberry assholes.
Yeah.
If I had more information, they might get to a full 5. Like if I learned this was planned, right, that they're like, hey, Bobby, hey, Billy, you tell me about, husband Billy, and you tell me about wife Lucinda.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what they say. Now, and almost, I hate to say it, but you know me, I always try to look for the optimistic side. Maybe they thought that by comparing notes, they could better help their own clients.
Maybe.
Like, what's Billy sharing with you that I can use to help Lucinda? What's Lucinda sharing with you that I can better use to help Billy? If that were the case, it's a bit. That's why it's like a half dingleberry off. Still not okay.
Is that a thing? Like, have you ever seen that? Like the therapy, maybe like with the couple, and they talk or compare notes?
Like your therapist for mom, Karina's therapist for kid.
Will we compare?
Hey,
it does get kind of muddy that way. And anytime you're working with those,
so you guys could do that. You guys could compare
as long as you had permission.
Oh, okay.
You'd have to have a release.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
No, I'm just saying, maybe that's what went through their mind. And if this is a small office and they share space and they know each other really well, hey, I'm helping this one, you're helping that one. I don't think I'm getting enough progress being done or whatever.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any of it right. I don't know that this qualifies anywhere on the Feldman scale, except the therapists are both zeros, like for basically divulging information to each other. And, but
what would Eric do?
That's a harder question to answer because the domestic violence aspect of it is not something I can speak to.
Right.
I can't really. It's harder for me to put myself hypothetically in her shoes with that background. But that's my main concern. The fact that she says I'm safe now means that there was a time where she wasn't.
Right.
And based on that, I would be more concerned that could revert if something triggers this guy. Again, I don't know the history. So I'm just spitballing. I don't know. Right. But yeah, I would really have to think. Maybe I would find a way to change therapists and tell hubby, look, I think after 2 years, they've taken us as far as we can go. And now I think we need a change of scenery, and try to maybe phrase it like that so it doesn't appear. And by the way, if this is a violent person, he may not take it out on her, but he may whip that therapist's ass.
Exactly.
For divulging shit.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying, therapists put themselves in a little bit of danger too there, potentially.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, you can't ever disclose anything without the client's permission and hopefully a signed release.
Yeah. All right. Well, next one then, guys. All right. Title is, Am I the Asshole for Lying to My Therapist? Okay. I, 45 male, have been in therapy for a very long time. Luckily, I have not been affected by depression or anything similar, but I have done therapy for many years, and I think it really does make me happy, and I can afford it, so why not? Last year, my therapist retired, and I had to find a new one. My wife, 45 female, has suggested me to go see a friend of hers, and it was a good match, so she has been my therapist since then. However, some months ago, I started noticing my wife knew things I never told anyone other than my therapist, so I started suspecting that she was getting that info from her friend. To prove that, I straight lied to the therapist. In particular, I told her that I was betraying my wife and that I was going to see my mistress on a certain day at a certain place. As you may deduce from the title, my wife was there and I called her out on it. She confessed and she asked her friend to share the content of our meetings to, quote-unquote, check me out and be sure I was fine. I was furious. I reported the therapist with the help of my lawyer and I asked for a divorce. My therapy meetings were my safe space and she crossed the line. Everyone I know is calling me the asshole for overreacting. Even my parents and my brother. Even my children. Nobody thinks that what my wife and her friend did was right, but they are saying that screwing a woman's career and ruining my family over this is too much. In my opinion, they did this to themselves. But since no one is agreeing with me, I am starting to think that I might be the asshole here. Am I the asshole?
No, I agree. They did it to themselves. It was horribly illegal and unethical. And you're not supposed to be, she shouldn't have even seen him to begin with, being the
friend of the wife.
Right, a friend of the wife. Yeah.
That's it's a harder one to answer and an easy one to answer at the same time.
Okay.
Because and I'll start with the easy part first. It's a clear violation.
Yeah.
right? There is, and no, they're not the asshole for setting it up because they needed validation and proof that this was happening.
Right.
That was actually a very clever way to do it.
It was, yeah.
Right? No, it was. I thought. Right?
I thought too. No,
what are you going to do? You're going to ask the person, by the way, are you ratting me out to my friend?
Exactly.
And they're going to say, of course I am.
Are
no.
you telling my wife that I'm
Right.
telling you here?
But you don't use someone's career to do
hold
that.
on. That came
She
after.
used her career, I feel like.
She fucked up her friend's life for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that came after. After he found out and it was confirmed, then he made the report.
But the idiot friend let her do it.
I that's a different issue. I know. So see, this is what happens when people get, really okay. So that to me is an easy response.
Right.
Because it's just a black letter. It's like what we call black letter law.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very straightforward violation of HIPAA guidelines.
Right.
Okay. It's also not that easy because even as a lawyer, everything clients say to me are confidential.
Right.
Okay, but when I get home and they're like, yo, I saw that crazy client of yours come in today. What do they want? And I respond innocently to my significant other or whatever. I've technically breached confidentiality.
Right.
Now, if my significant other is a cunt and calls that client and be like, you know what Eric just told me? Is that true? Right? I kind of deserve what I get in a sense.
Exactly.
But I would be so mortified that the person I trusted kind of did that to me. Right? But that's what I mean. Like there's a lot of human nature when you are in a position where you have to maintain confidentiality. You know what? I could easily see people getting offended.
Yeah. Like,
Eric, what did that client want today? Oh, I can't tell you. But I'm your wife. Tell me. No, I can't tell you.
But I feel like this is different because that's her friend.
Exactly.
So that would be like if, let's say.
Best friends gossip all the time. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not. So look, I'm going to say this without any specifics, and I'm positive this happens. We have had our fair share of weird, crazy, eccentric, over-the-top clients.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a single person in this office, because anybody that's employed by this law firm technically is under the same confidentiality that I am with any client. Mm-hmm. I am betting that there have been at least a dozen times over the last 15 or so years where people that have been employed here have talked to their spouses, best friends, fucking drinking mates, roommates, whatever, about the crazy client that came in this day or whatever. They don't have to give names. Right, they don't have to know them. But that kind of thing happens.
Yeah.
Right? That's also, by the way, in case you were ever wondering where the law was rooted about how a spouse can't testify against their husband.
Right.
Because there's pillow talk and everybody knows it.
Yeah.
Right? And the law doesn't want to discourage intermarital communications.
Yeah.
No, I'm serious.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying it's...
So do you think he's the asshole for reporting his wife's friend?
A little.
Really?
A little.
It was an ethical violation from the beginning.
Yeah.
I would have
Very
confronted.
strong one.
So I would have confronted, and then I would have changed therapists. I don't know that I would have ruined a career over that, to be honest.
They set him up.
I understand he got busted, and that setup was meant to validate what he thought was happening. But again, I don't know that I would, completely screw this guy's career.
I would.
Oh, I absolutely would. And he deserves to be.
Yeah.
What you could both do instead is you could write a strong letter and demand a settlement.
Oh, that would be smart too.
Okay, and be like, yo, before I take this to the board, I'm going to give, and you lose your license, I'm going to give you an opportunity to make this right. Mm-hmm. And here's what I would require to feel whole, and I'm going to change therapists.
Yeah, but you'd have to go through his insurance.
The insurance is not the same. So your insurance carrier is not necessarily obligated, right, to report certain things. And, by the way, he doesn't have to.
Yeah.
Pre-litigation demand can be settled, doesn't have to, unless the guy has no money, right? Unless he has for $1 million, and it's like, okay, fuck off. But if he's like, yo, Billy therapist, I'll take $25,000 and a referral, right? And I'll just forget this happened and thank me for not taking this further.
Yeah.
So
that might work.
So you're in favor of like squeezing the person rather than reporting.
I just think that
I would rather go with the squeezing.
I understand. I'm just saying that I would too, because I don't feel like I would get much satisfaction out of a career ruined. How does it, and let me say this in a fairly selfish and savage way, but also how a lawyer's mind works. How does that benefit me? Exactly. No, honestly, how does it benefit me? I report this guy, he loses his license, they get the friend, everybody gets all fucked up over this. How am I any better? Does my therapy continue? No.
You lost your therapist, you lost your wife.
Right, and a potential payday.
Yeah.
What does that do for me? I would handle it differently. I would still make the same point, trust me, he'll never forget that he fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
But rather than him going to like apply to fucking work at Starbucks, you know, with a fucking master's in psychology or whatever, or a license, no, you can keep all that, you know, and I'll be like,
remember me though.
Right. Oh, no. And he'll remember because, the amount you're going to have to pay me, I want this much every month, right? For a year. You're going to have to write me a fucking check every month. Mm-hmm. So he would never forget the name. Not that I have a name you forget because it's fairly uncommon, but you know what I mean? Like, that would be it.
Is that legal?
Why? I could hire an attorney to do the same thing. Now, it's actually less legal if an attorney does it. You could argue that's extortion.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's not like extortion to me.
But
like,
if
you don't give me this, I'm going to do that.
No, but if there is a legitimate claim, it's different if I'm like, yo, therapist, if you don't give me $50,000, I'm going to basically file a report that you raped me. I don't give a fuck. And even though you didn't.
Yeah.
Okay. That's different than saying, look, you did this. This is how I found out. They admitted it. Mm-hmm. And now for my intellectual distress, whatever, this is what I want to be made whole.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But extortion can be based on the truth.
Yeah, right? But there's a difference between extortion, right? Because if you say, if you don't do this, then I'll do that. No. What you're saying is, this is what I will need to be made whole, and I'll let you decide if you want to do that.
Mm-hmm. So it's just a matter of how you phrase it.
Everything is about Listen, don't lie. There are cases in published opinions. The entire case turned on a comma or on a single word, right?
Yeah.
There was a case that I had a personal involvement in, this Tower Park, the Mountain of Beverly Hills, this whole big thing. One of the issues, the Ninth Circuit, everything went in our client's favor until the last possible minute. The Ninth Circuit reversed everything because there was a phrase that said, should any appeal be filed? And should any objection be filed? There was an objection filed by a third-party non-party, a third, that had no standing. You go back and forth like this guy didn't even have the right to file an appeal, but you know what? Any means any, and that's literally what the Ninth Circuit wrote. Any means any. One word can change everything.
Yeah.
So yes, if you get a sharp guy like me that knows how to write shit in a certain way, okay, Billy might get paid and have plenty of money to make himself feel better with a new therapist and then some.
Yeah. All right.
I learned so much on this podcast.
Right? So informative. All right. Next story. Title is, Am I the asshole for asking for my therapist's last name? My wife and I are not so good right now. There's some trust issues between us on both ends, and we decided to have couples counseling. Truth be told, a lot of it is we wanted a third party to vent to and hear our new perspectives on how we could improve our marriage. We found a therapist who was on board to help. Her name on her business card, website, directory, etc. was just Doctor and her first name. Nowhere was her last name given. I didn't really care at first. She was highly reviewed, and I thought that this could fix everything I had going on. Well, after 2 sessions, the therapist said something along the lines of, we should consider opening up our marriage. What? This had nothing to do with anything, and it truly came out of the left field. Our problems were not related to our sex life, and they're not related to feeling or being lonely or underappreciated or anything like that. It just kind of seemed out of the blue to say, I think you guys should open up your marriage to new partners, as if that doesn't exacerbate trust issues. I asked my therapist her last name at this point, and she deflected. I refused to participate anymore until she told me her last name. Nothing happened, so I left. My wife also thinks it's weird that she would suggest that. Am I the asshole here? I want to know her first and last name so I could slam her in a review for giving toxic advice in a place of help.
What is she? Is she Dr. Ruth? May she rest in peace.
I'm going to tell you what I think happened.
Okay.
I think Billy got a little careless using Google and Yelp, and he probably hired a sex therapist. There are a lot of people that call themselves that. There's one in particular because me and Josh, as much as I hate to have to admit this openly, we used to go crazy with her TikToks. I mean, in a cringy way.
Okay.
And we would send them to each other because they would get under our skin so much. And she goes by Dr. Tara, right? And she's like this Asian Thai with a little bit of an accent who comes across like she's like this great sex therapist. And she does these like little 2-line, like almost like tries to rhyme. Okay. Eat ass before you smash. Oh. Bye. And that's what she would do, like stuff like that.
She's not exaggerating.
I'm sorry. And it drives, but it's like you love hating her, you know? So she probably has thousands of views just on me and Josh
Yep.
because we just hate her, and that her fucking expression and her voice and that fucked up crooked smile, all of it. Okay, but I'm betting this is someone like that.
Probably.
It's like, yo, this Dr. Nicole, let me tell you how to spice shit up. And hubby didn't understand. So after two sessions,
he was getting a couples counselor.
that's what I'm saying. So maybe maybe the first session was more benign, right? Second session might have been a bit more benign. And finally, Dr. Nicole's ready to open this up, so to speak. No pun intended. And there you go. So I'm betting it's that. I'm betting Billy just picked the wrong type of therapist for this.
Yeah.
I don't see any legitimate reason why a licensed therapist doing business in any state cannot disclose their full name, especially because it's on a license. All you have to do is ask to see a copy of their license.
Exactly.
In California, an attorney at least has to show you proof of their bar admission. Plus, it's like the state bar website is very, very up to date with everything. But I mean, so I think it would be almost impossible if I'm like, yo, before I divulge like my sickest depraved secrets, I want to know what kind of license you've got.
Yeah.
Right? Or what you're, and if they're like, oh, don't worry about that now. Maybe you and your spouse, Lucinda, should start bringing extra people in bed. Yeah, there's something else here. So, I think this guy hit the wrong fucking click, right, on a website, or he clicked like some clickbait ad, and that's what he ended up with. The other way, by the way, to maybe tell is how much the hourly rate is. Mm-hmm. Real licensed therapists with, strong reviews and by the way, reviews, as we've learned, can all be faked.
Yes.
Right? So, but we're saying a therapist with good, strong reviews and all that, I don't think would have a problem giving their real name.
No.
And you can probably find more about them.
Mm-hmm.
So, it just sounds like maybe Billy just didn't do enough research.
Exactly.
Or Lucinda.
Yeah.
Whichever. Whoever picked him or picked her. So, I don't think that anybody's the asshole here.
Yeah.
I don't think this is worthy of dingleberries. I don't think this is even a scale of shame.
No.
I just think this was a misclick and misinformation. Well, that's what I'm guessing.
I mean, if your therapist goes by Dr. Nicole and there's no license number, probably a red flag.
Probably a red flag. Probably needs a different therapist. So.
Listen, I'm just saying, okay, if this were like hood therapy, right, and it's Dr. Lucretia, and Dr. Lucretia is going to like lay the smack down on what you should do, that might have helped. I'm just saying that might have helped this couple. But this Dr. Nicole like opened it up.
Yeah.
And by the way, I'm just guessing because this topic never came up when I went to couples therapy. I don't think most couples that want to save their marriage go in with the idea that let's open this up.
No.
Like let's just go fucking Mormon style.
Yeah.
Let's start interviewing sister wives. Okay, that doesn't happen. Not always.
No.
Now, it's possible that like the Billy husbands out there, maybe they want to try that, and it would almost be funnier if somehow hubby Billy found this chick and like slid her money on the side to like suggest that.
But then why would he make the Reddit post?
No, I'm just saying, like I could see that happening.
Yeah.
Like, look, me and Lucinda are going to start seeing you next week. I know your bullshit. I'm going to Venmo you like $500. Tell her that we need to start bringing extra chicks in, and threesomes for me are the only way this is going to fix our marriage. And if she cares about me at all,
she'll do it.
Right. She's going to let me show up with Strange every now and then.
Or the wife could have done that. If he didn't know, what if the wife did that? Like, what if the wife was actually the one to be like, hey, I'll pay you. You say this.
Oh, she's a whore. At
the therapy session. And she was like, you say, like, open up our marriage. I don't really want to be with him anymore.
No, then she's a whore.
That's why she said it.
She's a hooker in training.
He didn't know.
Yeah, you're ignoring me, but she's not. No, I don't care. That's a hooker.
But if he did it, it was fine.
Because men do that. But that's a hooker in training. Look, there's not a single place in the bro code that you'll find that threesomes are not, favored by men. Mm-hmm. Sorry. That's in the bro code.
Well, that also could have been her.
In the whore code, maybe.
No.
Anyway, all right.
All right. Next one then. All right. Title for this one is, Am I the asshole for reporting my son's therapist for sharing his private information with his stepdad? My 36 son's 14, dog passed away recently. I signed him up with a therapist because his dog's death literally left him unable to speak. He's been in therapy for 2 weeks now. 2 days ago, my son called crying, saying his stepdad punished him by taking his bicycle away and selling it for no reason. I was livid. I went to have a word with the stepdad, and he told me that there was a reason and that it was in fact that my son badmouthed him to his therapist and claimed that he treated the dog poorly. I was floored at this. I had an argument with him and asked how the hell he would know and told him to prove that my son said all of that. He showed me texts between him and my son's therapist. So basically, the therapist had been giving out private info about a bunch of stuff my son was talking about in therapy. I was even more floored. I went straight to the therapist and we had a huge argument. I told him I was going to report him after he defended himself, saying that the only reason he gave my son's stepdad this info was because he was concerned as a quote-unquote parent. I said that I don't give a shit what the justification was and went on with my report. He tried to talk about how he felt for my son's stepdad and his concerns as a parent, so he didn't think he did anything wrong. My son's mom called after she found out about the report, and she blew up on me on the phone, calling me a controlling asshole for what I did. I ignored her calls, but my own wife thought I made a hasty decision and that the real problem was with my son's stepdad and not the therapist. Was I in the wrong for reporting him?
So, wait, who got reported? The
therapist.
The therapist got reported. So I guess the mom took the kid to therapy and didn't involve the father at all.
No. So what happened was the mom took the son to therapy. Dad fully knew about it, and it was okay. The stepdad decided to go and ask the therapist what the son was saying in this therapy session. And he found out that the son basically was telling a therapist that he was really sad about it, whatever, but the stepdad was the one who would treat the dog badly. Like, he bad-mouthed him to there. Stepdad found that out because he asked him and was saying that stepdad went up, sold the bike. And now the mom reported therapist because she's like, why the fuck would you tell the stepdad that? We never gave you authorization to do that. Yeah. And he was like, well, he was a concerned parent. That was the whole thing.
Yeah, no, kids have confidentiality too.
Yeah.
You can't just, unless it's a matter of like imminent danger or someone's getting hurt or you can't break confidentiality for that.
Exactly. Yeah, no. I thought, that's what I was thinking too. I was like, regardless, especially since it's stuff like the stepdad, I get that the therapist probably thought like, oh, the parent's like concerned, they want to know like what's going on. But at the end of the day, that was just the step parent. And I think that was messed up to say it, especially because the stepdad took it so personally that he was talking about him. And I have a feeling that he knew that the son was going to talk about how bad he treated the dog, and that's why he asked. That's what I feel. I don't know. Thoughts, Eric?
I think that anytime confidentiality is broken, it is an important enough issue to raise and to potentially report. And the reason I say that is even in very nominal or not very egregious breaches, you have to apply the same sort of rigid standard to everything.
Right.
Attorneys have various aspects of confidentiality that are beyond just attorney-client privilege.
Right.
For example, if an attorney goes to mediation with his client, a mediator has the absolute, without question, duty to keep confidential everything discussed in mediation.
Right.
Nothing discussed or offered in mediation can ever be used outside of mediation for any purpose. I had a situation once where an attorney on the other side actually violated the mediation privilege and used information obtained during the mediation to try to basically sell his judgment off to somebody else.
Oh, wow.
And say, I'll tell you the whole story one day offline. And we went after that attorney for sanctions.
Right.
Eventually, we settled it because they knew how screwed up they were and they can't do that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
But the point is that whether it's a tiny little thing or a big thing, if you make exceptions, and then you're constantly continuing down a slippery slope until you disclose something major that causes somebody to either conduct engage in self-harm, or whatever. So I as an attorney, I'm very careful about what I say and what I don't and to who.
Right.
In fact, often attorneys will preface a discussion by saying, can we call this a settlement discussion or settlement conference? Because discussions that revolve around potentially settling issues are also confidential, cannot be used. So if I'll email somebody that's saying, look, I know my client screwed up. They shouldn't have done that. We're sorry. I'll offer you this. If I don't put confidential settlement communication, I might have just given the keys to the castle to the other side.
Right.
Hey, you just admitted. Right. So that's what I mean. Like, you have to be very careful. And I hate to say it, but the penalties have to be severe.
Yeah.
Because this, at least in the practice of law, That confidentiality is sacred.
Mm-hmm.
Sacred. Same as in journalism, protecting your sources. Same as in mental health
Exactly.
therapy.
Yeah.
You have to, and I would say, even more so in a therapeutic environment.
Exactly. Yeah.
That trust, if ever violated, I don't think ever gets rebuilt. Or if it does, there's so much damage caused as a result of that breach.
Yeah.
By the time you're able to get past it, who knows what was lost, how far back people had to regress.
Mm-hmm. No,
so,
yeah. I just feel like also justifying just the stepdad, I just feel like it doesn't make it any better. Like how the therapist was like, oh, well, that's the stepdad. I just.
But by the way, it doesn't matter if that's the biological dad or the stepdad. Children generally get confidentiality anyway.
Exactly.
And they needed to ask permission.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. All right. Last one. Ready for this one then?
Okay. Yes.
Or were you?
No, I'm ready. Bring it.
Oh, I thought you were going to say something else. I was like,
you just smirked like you've been waiting to like lay this last one on.
No, it's a good last one.
All right. Go ahead.
The title is, my therapist has created a false rape and forced abortion and is reporting it on my behalf. I was not raped. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. All right. This is a long one. It's a not a long. Well, it's like a lengthy one. Yeah, it's a lengthy one.
All right. You know what? Try to give us more of the cliff notes.
Okay.
If you can.
Okay.
Give us the basics.
18 years old, college. So now an adult fully. Messed up. Got pregnant. Her boyfriend went to NYC. This happened in Boston. She's from Boston. Went to NYC. Got the abortion. Came back. She was fine. She told her therapist about the abortion. She told her that made sure it was a consensual the whole thing. But when they had sex, whatever. Therapist decided to call the police and say that the girl was raped and that she was forced to have an abortion in New York City. So when she came back, like a couple of days later, police were at the door trying to figure out what she was raped and if she wanted to report it. And she was like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. Police wouldn't really tell her what was going on, who told them that. But she found out later because her mother called her. Therapist also reached out to her parents, which she had no idea how that even happened because she never gave them information about their parents. She's 18. She's in college. She shouldn't have to.
By the way, I was on team therapist till just now.
Yeah.
But go ahead. Because I know that they have a duty to report certain things if they think and,
Right.
But I'm going to share more about that. But go ahead and finish. Sorry.
Her parents started calling her. Therapist apparently gave them even her address. That her parents never had her address in Boston. The therapist gave them her address so they could know where she was and told them basically your daughter was raped and she was made to do that. Her parents were extremely religious, so her parents were like, "Oh, you're fucking every man in New York City. That's why you had the abortion." They were threatening to go up there. All of that. Even NYPD had been calling her about this because of the therapist, and that's when she found out the therapist said it. So she denied any of that. But the therapist, apparently the story she went with was she was at a frat party and got raped. And that was taken from her saying, my boyfriend is in a fraternity and I have been in the house and we have had sex in the house before, but it was consensual. But I guess the therapist was like, no, that's not true. Let me see. I know she said a part here. There was a part here that I did want to include. She continued basically to provide false information to the police even after I gave them information that should have ended it all. The therapist also said that she has Stockholm syndrome and that's why I wouldn't report my boyfriend, which also isn't true. So she was basically saying like, I don't know what to do after this. I don't know if I need like an attorney or what I should do. She's still saying that it's true. She's like, I know for a fact it's not. So it was kind of like what would Eric do here? Well,
go ahead. I'll let the internal therapist say something, but
first of all, I'm confused. The therapist sounds, it's just very bizarre behavior. And you can only break confidentiality if someone is in imminent danger.
Exactly.
You can't break confidentiality even if there is a past assault. Or if you know your client has committed a crime, you still can't break confidentiality.
Okay. I don't know if the therapist justified that by saying she was in imminent danger or thinking that she was. The only thing I could think of when I first heard the age was 18. I'm assuming that she was pregnant and had the abortion before her 18th birthday. Or at the very least got pregnant before her 18th birthday.
She explained that she was already 18. Yes.
Okay. If she was already over 18, then the only type of rape could have been non-consensual sex.
Right.
If she were 17,
then
in not in every state, but for example in California.
California law, it's not reportable by a therapist if they're 17.
Okay, I'm just saying it's still technically statutory rape.
Yeah. Right.
And I'm not saying the therapist is right. I'm just saying that I could understand maybe where this might have stemmed from or started if the therapist believed that maybe she was like given roofies or GHB or whatever, and some kind of date rape, in the frat house. There may have been so many past stories of this kind of thing. I mean, it sounds like a Law and Order episode, to be honest. Yeah. Like, in fact, I'm sure there was a few like that. Mm-hmm. The fraternity house, hookups and all that stuff. Having said all that, and again, I'm not an expert in therapist confidentiality law. I will tell you that it sounds like the therapist went way overboard. Mm-hmm. Even if the therapist, male or female, started off with good intentions, it quickly morphed into some weird obsession.
Yeah.
This idea that I'm going to call your parents and I'm going to find their address. No, that's way above. Even if you can argue that calling the police was justified the first time it happened or that moment, and even if the therapist can somehow justify that I believe she was in imminent danger of being raped or abused, okay, at that point, once she made multiple statements of no, it's not what happened, it's always been consensual, I'm over 18, that should have been the end of it. So, I mean, what would Eric do? Yeah, Eric would have reported that bitch at that point, yeah. As much as, again, she might have started off with good intentions, but the road to hell is paved with good intentions, as they say.
Exactly.
One of my favorite things.
You like that? I know. Yeah. That and no good deed.
It's true.
No, I mean, I'm just saying, I mean, it's almost like your sister-in-law shows up pregnant, from some random rando hookup from the Bahamas, and you think something else might have happened, but she keeps telling you no.
Yeah.
Right? No, this was all consensual, right?
Yeah.
Almost like that.
You're also dating just the less limbed,
There you go. Thank you for finally Hurricane tried.
Yeah, this one was really crazy to me. The fact that this therapist tracked her parents down.
Yeah, it's a little obsessive.
And gave her the address for the daughter. Like, she was like, your daughter's here, go get her. And the daughter was like, yeah, they literally threatened to come get me out of here now because of what the therapist did. I don't know. But the only thing I could have ever thought from this was the therapist herself was a victim of, like, a frat boy, like, rape or anything like that. So that's the only reason she freaked out like this. Again, not appropriate.
Her own PTSD?
Yeah, like
that's
her
possible.
own PTSD. That's the only thing.
Doesn't justify it?
Doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, doesn't justify it, but that might be a plausible defense for her, like with the medical board.
Like, I saw the signs. I myself have been
right. I have my own PTSD.
Yeah,
I can't help it. Right, this sort of instinct kicks in.
But I would report her. I would get her license taken away for sure. That didn't seem healthy. So, all right. Well, that's all I have today, guys. That's all.
No, listen. This was kind of a fun episode.
Yeah.
So, Hurricane.
Yes.
Tell them where they can find us.
All right, guys. Thank you all for listening. We appreciate all the support. Remember, you can find us on Instagram at the Ben Salma Confirm and our podcast Instagram at the Late Podcast. You can visit our Twitter and TikTok at Ben Salma Confirm. You can visit our website at eblawfirm.us, or you can email us at info@eblawfirm.us.
Remember, hold on, before you say bye, guys, I just want to say to all of those out there that are therapists or that need therapy, wishing you a calm and peaceful afternoon to the soothing sounds of E-Ride.
There you go.
Right? Let me drop these smooth words on each and every one of you.
I was like, what's happening?
Namaste. Right? Namaste. Mm-hmm. Right? Remember, you was smart and you was kind and you was beautiful. No, remember, you ever seen the movie The Help?
I have.
That's from The Help.
I have seen The Help.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
I hope you all do get therapy.
Make sure your therapist isn't more psycho than you are.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No. Sorry. You know what? We could have ended on my happy note, but no, I'm not going to. Let me just tell you.
We're never going to sleep.
For men out there in therapy, if you have a female therapist that you find out is a psycho, just remember one of the 3 cardinal rules: that crazy sex is the best sex. Okay, and just try to make it work.
Yep.
Okay, bye guys.
Bye guys. Bye.